Hello and welcome to the Insights Overflow podcast, the show where we talk to customers, partners, and industry leaders about the lessons that they've learned in order to make an impact. Today I'm joined by Melvin and Ananias from the Namibia Institute of Pathology. How's it, guys? How's it going?
Hi, Andrew.
Good.
All good from our side. How are you doing?
No, good, thanks. So for those that don't know what the Namibia Institute of Pathology, or NIP, does, could you sort of describe to everybody what it is that NIP does?
Yeah. So NIP, Namibia Institute of Pathology, we are in the medical laboratory services for both the public and the private sectors of Namibia. The company staff count is about 450 to 500 at the current moment. So we do all laboratory-related blood tests for the public sector, and obviously we have a market share in the private market as well. So that's where we operate. So I am the head of business applications for the institute, and my colleague.
Yeah, I'm Ananias, like you said, business intelligence. So yes, like Melvin said, we work for NIP. And NIP does the testing of all lab-related tests across the country. We have about 14 regions in our country, and then we have 38 plus labs, and we have a presence like in every region. Yeah.
So basically, in simple terms, if, for instance, I've got a ailment, or I go to the doctor and I need a diagnosis that needs blood tests or sort of any tissue test, basically I'll go to a doctor, they'll take a sample, or go to a particular lab or outpost, and then they'll take that sample and basically send it centrally to the lab. There's multiple labs actually in Namibia.
So we operate in the public sector. We serve about 300 plus clinics and health centers that are in the peripheral areas of Namibia. So if you go to the clinic, you're seen by a medical doctor or a health worker. They draw your blood, they send it to one of the 38 NIP laboratories, and then we perform the testing on that, and then obviously we provide results back to the facilities or the medical practitioners.
Yeah. So now obviously in all of this testing, you guys generate a lot of data.
Yeah.
And, being in the medical industry, I mean, that data is of like the utmost sensitivity in that it relates to an individual, it relates to their health condition. So your sort of view on NIP's data, maybe, you could describe to me sort of a little bit about obviously the high volumes and also the sensitive nature. Do you have to treat your data a specific way as it relates to sort of patients?
Yeah, so in terms of data, obviously we have to maintain the highest confidentiality standards on our data. NIP is operating now for 20 years. And if you hear 20 years, obviously you'll understand the number of data that we have in our databases. So we work with a large data sets. We have to preserve our data. Obviously, we're in the health sector, so we need to retain all the data that we have for the patients.
Yeah. And we have, I think, some of the highest volumes. Like Melvin said, we cater to over 300 clinics, and that's just the clinics excluding the hospitals also. So each lab on an average per day will probably process about 3,000 samples. So if that's happening on a daily, you can just imagine the amount of data that we see to it. And again, like Melvin said, we handle it with the most confidentiality. So security to us is very important because, it's sensitive patient data that we handle on a day-to-day. Yeah.
And obviously, because of the nature of the data, your choices on the business applications that you need to use internally have to be specific, given the sensitive nature. So, I know for us and, for you guys, on-premise option was very, very important.
Very important, yeah.
Which means that the data doesn't leave your network. You can physically deploy the application inside of the network. So how important was that for you?
Yeah, that is a business critical decision. Obviously, all our data should be maintained within the organization, within the country itself.
Yes.
So everything, all our platforms basically are run on-prem, and it was an important decision for us to make so that we can run our data warehouse sort of from internally. Yeah.
And obviously, before sort of we met and started engaging, and you guys became a customer of OQLIS, you went on a data journey in terms of the products you used and the sort of the way that you did things. So maybe you could describe where you guys came from in terms of the data challenges and the things that you were experiencing that made you look sort of elsewhere and say, no, well, there must be a better way to do this.
I think Ananias can take this one. He's very eager to answer this.
So, like I mentioned before, we have so much data, right? And one of the needs that arise was for us to be able to analyze the data, to be, able to feed like management with trends so that they can make decisions to better plan, and not just internally, but also when we look at from the Ministry of Health side, to see how many patients do we have that are suffering, let's say, from this condition or this disease and so forth. So we needed a tool that would help us analyze the data in a very more efficient, in real time. Yeah. So the first tool that we had that we worked with kind of didn't save that. It was a good tool, but in terms of managing to handle that amount of data, it was such a struggle, and I think management wasn't happy, or we weren't all happy. Yeah. So coming from that to where we are now, it's like there's so much improvement. I don't know, Melvin wants to further talk about that as well.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we had quite a lot of struggles. Our biggest was in terms of the loading speeds, the performance basically of the previous tools that we used. So when we got OQLIS on board, I think everything just changed. I think in terms of getting real-time reports, dashboards, on top of your finger, and be able to make business informed decisions from the data that you get is quite critical for us. So I think with implementing OQLIS, we are at a point where we can easily provide real-time data. We can have trends. Management can make better informed decisions based on that. So yeah.
And sort of, if you had to sort of describe your experience, like how would you, rate the onboarding experience and, the journey so far? Would you say it's been positive?
Yeah, it's been positive. I think just delivering the dashboards, from getting your requirements to having a visualized dashboard, the accuracy of the reports, basically, the time to market is quite fast.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of buy-in from management, from our side, to just optimize the platform so that we can scale and provide more data, more visuals or dashboards to the business.
Yeah, more insights to more people.
To the business,
yeah.
Basically.
No, I think, we take a look at it and we say, okay, cool, well, this shouldn't be hard, and data, it is hard, it's complex, there's high volume, there's a lot of context to the data. So, you need experts to understand how the whole process works. But ultimately, especially from a business perspective, you think to yourself, no, well, getting these insights, it shouldn't be a struggle.
Yeah.
And if you are struggling, something is wrong. So either the tooling is wrong, or you say don't know the right people involved, etc. But ultimately, your intuition is that no, it should be easy to provide insights because you can see the data,
Yeah.
you know you have it, so why can't I get there? And then I think, obviously AI is sort of like a hot topic and a buzzword. And where a lot of businesses or organizations fall short is that they might want to start an AI journey, but they haven't even got their data journey sorted. So how can they take that next step? So in terms of where you guys are thinking around AI, do you have any sort of thoughts about how you'd like to take your organization forward and some ideas around the use of AI in your space? Have you sort of thought about that in any way, or have some ideas?
Yeah, we have. Just to take you back to the previous question that you asked, how the experience has been rolling out OQLIS and moving from our previous product to the one we're using now. Because I think the support from the OQLIS team was like quite good. Really have hands-on guys to support, and once we provide the requirements and then the dashboards are done pretty much on time. So we've been doing it stage by stage, where we've done it department by department. So we are still slowly but surely getting into the AI aspects of it, in terms of now how we want to analyze our data. Again, I feel like we've only touched. We haven't really fully utilized, the full aspects of what the product can do. I think in our visit this week, we've sort of also gotten to see other additional functionalities of what OQLIS can do and its capabilities. So yeah, we are looking into utilizing AI to analyze our data, but we aren't there yet until we're fully covered, all the dashboards that we want to build, I think.
Yes. And I think with what we've learned this week, I think there's a lot that the product can provide us in order to analyze our data holistically. So from what we've seen this week, I already had like a lot of ideas of how I'd like to analyze that information, send daily, hourly insights to management, so that they just appreciate in terms of the tool itself, appreciate what it can do. Because in terms of your test volumes, in terms of your revenues, these things, these insights you can deliver at fingertip and then provide it to management. They understand where the business is going to. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, sort of one of the interesting things I heard from the team is basically then you guys wanted to set up alerts on HIV tests for newborn babies.
Yes.
And what an amazing thing to be able to do, so that basically you can get sort of care in quicker, or the doctors can sort of address issues quicker the minute you have the results, within from the test that you've done. So just using automations and sort of triggers inside the tool, and
so much we can do.
Correct. And also I'll give you a perspective on how we see the world of AI. So basically there's, say, traditional AI, which is machine learning, where you train a model to predict a certain value. So an example would be a patient comes in, they've got a whole flurry of tests, and ultimately the doctor produces a diagnosis based on the condition of, or based on the results of those tests. So actually what you could do using machine learning is, if you have enough data, you could train a model that can predict a diagnosis based on these actual results of these tests. Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So you can basically augment sort of doctor's diagnosis with the lab results from a machine learning perspective. But then also AI obviously has generative AI, which is like the ChatGPTs, etc. And one of the ways that we're implementing that generative AI in the application is, say for instance, you send an email, that it can basically summarize that data set for you in the body of your email. So to management, it's not like, oh, please see your attached PDF. It's like, well, here's some insights inside of the dashboard. Look at the email body first, and then you can start analyzing the
entire
reports.
Story about what's going on.
Yeah, so that's basically how we see our role in enabling our customers to get on the AI journey with the data they have already in a reasonably simple way. So no, I'm sure there's sort of plenty of opportunities to explore with that. And then, so in terms of say next steps for your organization, obviously, we've rolled out. There's a couple of individuals getting reports. We've dealt with test volumes. We're putting together dashboards around checking out your inventory in terms of where things are across the different clinics, etc. What do you see as the next sort of steps within the business that you need to address from a data point of view? What are the next sort of areas that you specifically want to start looking at?
I think the first one we want to look at is basically our financials. Have better insights as to where the company is. And then I think we want to move more to adding more devices. We say, for instance, with the laboratory space, we have like things that need to be monitored on a daily basis. It was like your 0-20 degrees fridges and all that. So with the Internet of Things, the module that you have on the platform, it'll be good to add these devices and get more insights. So what we want to do is we want to build holistic reporting, basically for the institute.
That's a great use case.
And I think also, in as much as the data belongs to NIP to a certain degree, also belongs to the entire nation. So what we want to do is also build dashboards that paint the picture, like especially with diseases that are being monitored. We want to have dashboards that our stakeholders can just really come on and see how is Namibia's prevalence when it comes to TB, to HIV, and so forth. For us to really feed the country with actual intel that is useful to them to see how we're doing when it comes to certain diseases. So I think that's also one of the next steps that we want to take when we build the dashboards here.
And sort of if you had to paint a picture of what, say, the next 10 years would look like, or what the Institute looks like in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, what is each one of your sort of vision for what the Institute should be doing and should be?
You can go first.
I mean, my vision is a data-driven institute. We had an interesting chat with John T to say, like some of the dashboards we want to build with the CDC, our partners. With some of the modules that you have on OQLIS, where we could look at some sort of predictions, like future forecasting and whatnot. So I think my vision of the business is just everything must come from, must be backed up by data. We analyze the data and we choose which direction or which path to go with.
Yeah. As an institution, there's a lot of strategic projects in place, obviously to meet the demand out there and becoming a pathology of choice in Africa. So if we don't have that visibility to the data that we have and the data that we have, we won't be able to reach some of the goals that we have set. So as Ananias is saying, I think we want to report holistically to the business. Every aspect of the business needs to be informed by the data so that they are able to make decisions swiftly and then act. And basically, that decision.
No, that's a great vision. Thanks so much for coming, and thanks for taking the time to make the trip from Namibia to Pretoria. And thanks for sitting down with me today, and looking forward to the event tomorrow. So thanks so much for watching. You've been watching the Insights Overflow podcast with Melvin and Ananias from the Namibia Institute of Pathology. We'll catch you on the next one.